Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And let me begin by saying, hallelujah, brothers and sisters, hallelujah. The SNP have finally got it. Humza Yousaf has finally seen what we have all seen for years. The only trouble is, it won't do him any good because it's way past the point of repairing. What am I talking about? Well, it's simple. It's identity politics. Get on and do the day job. Stop dealing with identity politics. Get woke, go broke. We've always seen it. He finally has seen it. He's admitted that the SNP is absolutely too closely linked with identity politics, concentrates too much on identity politics. They're not doing their day job. This is alienating people. It's driving away the voters. They're losing ground because people just look at them now and go, you're all a bunch of woke wankers. They're not voting for you. He's finally got it. Oh, he's still going ahead with the court case over gender reform, though. So he may understand the problem, but he hasn't yet quite grasped the solution to the problem. But anyway, it's a step forward. It's a step in the right direction. Let's have a look. So Humza Yousaf admits the SNP is too linked to identity politics and it's driving off voters. But he pushed on with costly gender reform case nonetheless. So he knows what the problem is, but he doesn't know how to sort it out. And the big problem he's got is that even now saying, oh my God, that's the problem, we need to sort this out. The moment he starts moving away from identity politics, he's going to get pushback from within the party. He's going to get pushback from certainly the Greens. He's going to get a pushback from the minorities. And by the minorities, we mean the 0.01% of mentally ill people who are, claim to be gender dysphoric, but in actual fact aren't, because it's such a rare event. It's just inadequate men who get the horn on by dressing up as ladies, basically. So they're going to fight back, and he's going to go, ooh, I'm too scared to deal with that, because we all know, unlike the trans community, he has no balls. So he understands what the problem is, but of course he's quite incapable of solving the problem. He hasn't got the spine to solve this, he hasn't got the intelligence to solve it, and he certainly hasn't got the political nous to able to spin this in any other way, other than, we know what the problem is and we can't do anything about it. What a knob. Anyway, which is something else that he shares in common with the ladies of the trans organisation. They both have knobs. He is one. They've got one. It's fine. Anyway, First Minister admitted that the Nationalist Party were now seen as focusing too much on the likes of gender reform, which is unpopular with Scots, rather than more important issues such as the NHS, transport, ferries, communications, social care, education, you name it. Everything. The very last thing on all list, they did a list recently, tangent time, they did a list recently, and they said, what's the important issues of the day? And there was something like 16 items on the list, and 16th place was gender reform, and it was only in 16th place because it was on the bloody list. If you had just given them a piece of paper and say, look, write out what's important to you, gender reform would never have even appeared on that list. Anyway, Humza Yousaf has finally seen the light and admitted that the SNP is too linked to identity politics, and this could be having a detrimental effect on its support. It is. Everyone's against this. They've picked, and I've said this time again, whenever there's a choice, they without fail choose the wrong way. And they went on gender, and they went the wrong way. And the vast majority of Scots don't want women cancelled. They don't want the erasure of women. If a man wants to dress up as a woman, that's not a problem. He's got all the right in the world to do so, but he doesn't have the right to pretend to be a woman, and he certainly doesn't have the right, in his pretense, to force me to accept that lie. And of course I don't. I use the 2010 Equality Act and maintain my philosophical belief, and that's what gets you through it. Anyway, he claims this Skexit plan will lead to independence negotiations. It won't. With the UK government, even if they just scrape enough seats at the next election. Man's a buffoon, isn't he? Anyway, Nicola Sturgeon's fight for gender reforms played a key role in her decision to step down as First Minister. Oh, no, it really didn't. It was plod, wasn't it? It was plod approaching the garden gate at a fair rate of knots, you know. Blues and twos, she could hear it in the distance. She went, I'm out of here. And she got out of Dodge before the sheriff marched into town. Anyway, it proved to be a contentious debate at times, with women's rights campaigners often locked in a feud with SNPs, and still are, and winning. Good on them. The former First Minister even complained about public discourse being toxic after she described some critics of gender reforms as bigots. Yeah, you weren't allowed to even talk about it. If you talked about it, you were a bigot, according to her. Because she didn't really believe it herself, really, but she had to keep the Greens on board. And they, as we know, are toxic and bad and wrong in every way. See the previous video. So we can screw the Greens. Anyway, she said, there are some people that think I have decided to use women's rights as a sort of cloak of acceptability to cover up what is transphobia. No, you're not clever enough for that. You were using women's rights to push an agenda so that you could keep the Greens on board. Now again, that's not everybody who opposes this bill, she said. I want to be very clear about that. But there are people who have opposed this bill that cloak themselves in women's rights to make it acceptable. No. Women's rights is acceptable. Trans rights is not, because trans rights are already enshrined in law. There is no such thing as trans rights. There's human rights. Now, nobody is treating a trans person any different simply because of their sex. What they're saying is, yes, you're a trans and that's fine, but you're a man, and therefore you'll get what men get, and that's it. Anyway, Mr. Yousaf admitted that this fight could have affected the public opinion of the SNP. Oh, it's taken him 6 months of leadership to get there, has it? My God. Why did he get there, within 6 minutes of it being announced? Anyway, in an interview with the New Statesman, he said, for many people, if I'm being frank... Oh, I thought your name was Humza. Anyway, he said, if I'm being frank, they associate us with identity politics, which, as a minority in this country, and as someone who lives with hatred, probably on a weekly if not daily basis, I will never apologise for. I'm pretty sure, and I will say I'm pretty sure Humza Yousaf does spend his life being hated, but it's not because of the colour of his skin, and it's not because of the country his parents decided to come from. It's because Humza Yousaf is a hateful, Marxist, ignorant twonk. He hates white people, which is odd considering he married one and that his mother-in-law is white. It makes you wonder why he hates white people so much. He must look around and go, in my family, it's far too many white faces. Oh, it's overly white in my family, you know. Anyway, he says we have to accept that far too many believe us to be a party of identity politics, which is true, as opposed to delivering on the issues that matter to them. You've never delivered on the issues that matter. You're incapable, because the issues that matter are things that the problems you've caused. And so to correct them, you'd have to admit you were wrong. And that ain't going to happen, is it? Anyway, he says, my relentless focus is going to be on hating white people, the cost of living, the NHS and public services. Oh, and growing the economy. Well, not with the Greens, there you're not. They're not going to allow you to grow the economy. That goes against their policy. And after all, it is a Green government. The SNP are just there to back up the Green government. The First Minister did have the chance to drop the Gender Reform Recognition Bill after it was blocked by the UK government, but chose to follow through with the costly court case, just to defend the principles of devolution. No, that's not what it was. We all know what it was. It's if he dropped it, the Greens would have walked, and he doesn't have the balls to run a minority party, or a minority government, because, Ken doll, the old Ken doll down the front. Mr. Yousaf has also flip-flopped numerous times on his Skexit plan. He hasn't got a plan. He's got a series of thoughts that other people have had, and everyone else has sort of had these thoughts and went, nah, reject them because they're shit. But that's all he's got, and so he keeps having to regurgitate them because he has nothing. Nothing. Oh, look, there's a picture of him on Time magazine. Do you know who else was on Time? A long time ago. Mr. H, the little Austrian fella, Second World War. May have heard of him. Funny moustache. He was on the cover of Time as well. It's a pair of them, isn't it? So very similar in all their politics. Anyway, he said about the flip-flopping. Anyway, he said the downgrade came after polls showed plummeting support for the nationalists. Say it ain't so. But even this plan is up in the air. This is let's just see if we can just get some seats. If we get some seats, if we get any seat, if we get a seat, we'll call it a mandate. That's basically where they're going with this, you know. He said even this plan's up in the air, showing that the First Minister is not exhibiting firm leadership. He hasn't got any leadership. He's got no authority. He's got no leadership. He hasn't got the ability to control his own party. People ignore him. He's not a leader. He's a seat warmer. That's all he is. He cannot even bring himself to fully back his own motion, which will be discussed at his first and last SNP conference as leader. Yeah, he failed to back his own Skexit motion because he knows if he backs it and it loses, it makes him look bad. He knows he's going in there with a right set of minds. Like, oh, I've got this idea. Is it any good? No. What? What else have you got? Nothing. What? What a way to run a party. Anyway, he said, we're talking about the most seats. He's talking about a seat next. And in terms of majority, you'll see within the conference agenda, there are amendments around majority versus most seats. I'll take a look at those amendments and take a view on them closer to conference time. Well, tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. You've got 3 days, mate. Made it your choice yet. He says, that doesn't mean you immediately begin negotiations on independence. He says, what we say is that we will then have negotiations within the UK government on how to put that into democratic effect. Well, let's just have a look at the democratic result. Did more people vote against your party than for it? Yes, there you go. End of story. Ta-da! He said, that's been our plan A from day one. You haven't got a plan A. Plan A? Come off it. What's he on? They say, let's have negotiations on independent. No, here's the negotiations. We've won a seat. Let me phone up Westminster. We've won a seat. Can we have independence? No. Okay. That's it then. Let's come up with a better idea. Because that's what it's going to be. Westminster will just go, fuck off. Poor old Mr. Humza Yousaf, a lover of Hamas and a moron. A man who doesn't even back his own plans. He's going to conference with no ideas, and the only great thing for him is there won't be many people there to see his embarrassment. Oh look, there he is, leader of the party, couple of hundred people. Huge hall, 27,000 people. Couple hundred people in there. If you're lucky. 2 of them will be cleaners. I mean, it's not a joke. I'm not even joking. And of course, with the bad weather coming, who the hell is going to travel all the way up the A90? I got corrected on that the other day. I was going to travel all the way up from the central belt, up the A90, just to see that moron blather on about a plan that he doesn't even believe in. Pointless, isn't it? Half the MSPs and MPs aren't going. They've all had enough of him. They've all had enough of the party. I mean, and today, Lisa Cameron, we love you, Lisa. You are wonderful. Anyway, we'll come to the end of that. I've enjoyed this one, you can tell. So I'm going to round off, come up, and we'll finish off the video, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah, how many years has he been there that he hadn't realised that identity politics was toxic? How many years? Now, he's not Quicksilver, is he? He's not very fast, but then I've always said he's not very clever. But now that he's recognised the problem, that is the first stage, isn't it? You've got the 12-step plan, haven't you? And he's recognised step 1. He's recognised he has a problem. But the 11 steps that remain are all going to be quite impossible for him to do anything because he lacks the intelligence. But if he truly wanted to be, his own man and lead from the front and change things and turn things around, he'd drop the GRR bill right away and tell the Greens to go boil their heads. Isn't going to happen. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this one. I said in the piece there, I enjoyed making that, and you can always tell when I enjoy making them. I get onto one, don't I? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. So if you have, do please hit that subscribe button. Definitely hit the like button. Share the video, and until next time, stay safe, stay well, and just think in about 5 or 6 years' time, the SNP might have found out a solution to their problems. 5 or 6 years' time, there won't be an SNP, will there? Bye.